Hey guys, Tbull. Today we gotta look at the new update. We got an update coming for World of Warships Legends next Monday. That's May 15th to the uninitiated. We're gonna jump right into it. First off, early access. I'll tell you what's coming in early access in a moment, but word to the wise. I always say this every update that there's going to be ships coming in early access. What is it? If you're new to the game, you haven't experienced it, and it's been 4 or 5 updates since we've had an early access nation introduction. Basically, there's going to be an opportunity to accumulate a bunch of crates, Italian destroyer crates. You're going to be able to get them by playing the game. If you purchase the campaign, which we're going to talk about in a moment, you'll get access to more of these crates, whatever. You're also going to be able to say, all right, I'm going to pull out the credit card. I'm going to buy a bunch of these crates. What are in the crates? A chance to get one of these tech tree ships unlocked and in your port immediately, which is nice, certainly. But the caveat is this: without spending money, in just 5 weeks' time, you'll be able to grind through the line and get all these ships for free, i.e., without using actual dinero. Okay, so it's up to you. You want to spend the money, you want to get after these ships, go for it. Or if you want to say to yourself, okay, I got a limited amount of money to spend on this game, what's the best way to do it? My general advice is there's other ways to profitably spend your money. All right, what's the nation at hand? Italian destroyers. These destroyers have a special engine boost consumable that's more powerful than it is for other nations, but also doesn't work as long. Additionally, exhaust smoke generator, similar to what you're going to be seeing from the Italian cruisers. And, oh, by the way, they do have the SAP shells in addition to HE ammo. Okay, well, that's interesting. Usually the Italian cruisers and battleships, if you put the SAP shells on the ship, you give up the HE. Apparently, according to these patch notes, at least, the version that I got, we're going to be dealing with HE and SAP, which is pretty good. All right, so those sound interesting on paper. And they also say we expect these new ships to be very competitive in 1v1 destroyer situations, which is awesome. That's one of the most important situations for destroyers to consider. But their visibility will hinder their performance if they're out among too many watchful eyes. So apparently they're going to have a high detectability, is what that piece of copy suggests. All right, it says new ships available through the crates, sprinkled throughout the campaign, new calendar. Okay, there's another calendar event, or whatever. You can buy the bundles. Again, save your cash. If you follow my advice, something called Jotun of the Seas campaign. And we got a guy named Ager in this thing. Ager, Norse giant who rules the seas, finds his name stamped on the steel armor, yada, yada, yada. German cruiser, O class, whatever that means, 305 millimeter guns, 3 turrets, torpedoes, 8 of them. Made to finish off those unfamiliar with the etiquette of keeping distance. I don't understand what that means, but we'll have a new German battle cruiser with torpedoes, something or other. We'll check that out. I'm going to get access to these ships. We're going to preview them on the channel. If you're new to the channel and you want to see the previews, go ahead and subscribe right now. What's this calendar event we're talking about? If you remember when we got the Agincourt, or, there's been holiday calendar events. These things play every day, do some simple missions. If you do it, unlock, unlock, unlock. If you get everything, if you do it every day, and it looks like 7 by 5, so that's, Christ, 35 days in a row. But if you grind it out, then you're going to get a copy of someone named Carlo Bergamini. All right, so Italian destroyer commander. Presumably if you got all the other commanders already unlocked, which some of you do, you would get him as soon as he's fully available through your weekly, pick a premium or weekly supplies missions again. Just kind of figure out how the game works and then decide where to put your resources, time and cash. All right, but there's other prizes, commendations, insignias, and by the way, if you get the commander here and you get them out of commander crate naturally, well, then this would be an automatic legendary level 2. You get the duplicate. So something to consider there. But there's, that's going on. Okay, more interesting here. Tier 8. A lot of you guys are kind of down on tier 8, and I get it. You know, you're often playing with legendary tier players. My God, have you seen these guys play the game? Oof, rough. But a lot of the, you know, I'd say at least half of the tier 8 ships are pretty damn good. You know, some of them are kind of clunkers, certainly. But we got a new crop. Tier 8 Italian battleship, Lepanto. Tier 8 Italian cruiser, Brindisi. Pan-European destroyer, Smollend. My God, I'm looking forward to that one. Carrier players. Whew. Those of us that love the carrier players as much as they love us, love to play the European destroyers. We shoot those planes down with great aplomb. Soviet cruiser Petropavlovsk and the Soviet destroyer Nostromo. In real life, Nostromo was a oil refinery interstellar galactic vehicle. In this game, Soviet destroyer, tier 8. Brawls. Anyone remember Brawls? They're coming back. Arpeggio of Steel. Now there's actually we'll go over the commanders. Again, subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'll do a deep dive on the commanders, tell you which ones are valuable, which ones not. But those of you guys that love secondary builds, there is an interesting one called Haruna. And this is very, very, very good for secondary builds. So again, stay tuned. We'll do a deep dive on those. If there's any new ones, which it doesn't look like, but you never know, we'll cover those as well. New ships of the update. What's this? Tier 7 Premium Battleship American. Constellation. Torpedoes. Radar consumable. Oh my God. All right. Interesting. We'll check that one out. Pan-American Battleship Commander Henrique Fernandez. Pan-American Battleship. What's that? There's something called Atlantico in the store. And yes, that's pronounced correctly. Currently, there's just Dewey Commander. A generic commander. We call him Dewey de Janeiro around these parts. But now there's actually going to be a dude who's going to be spec'd for battleships. Hopefully, if they're not completely asleep at the switch, this will be a secondary focused battleship commander. My God, let's hope they don't screw that up. That seems pretty obvious. So let's in WG we trust, right? We'll just assume that's a secondary focused commander. And with that, the Atlantico may all of a sudden become pretty good. Right now, I think it's a dog. Some of you guys like it, some of you don't. Balance changes. We're going to talk about that in a moment here. Mobile. Every time there's an update, patch notes, there's mobile notes on here. I never go over them because as far as I'm aware, there's only 2 nations on planet Earth that have access to the mobile version of the game. Now, there used to be a beta of it. I signed up for that, played a few games, 10 games or so, determined the mobile version is viable. Christ, if you know what you're doing, it can't be any worse than most of the guys on the blue team anyways. So I was kind of warming to the idea, but as far as I know, and I've asked them numerous times, when are we going to get the mobile version fully released? My God, we need another 1 million players or so to boost certainly the eyes on this channel. Well, crickets. Nothing. I don't know what's going on with it. But they're updating it. I'm not going to read it because none of you guys can play it. And then there's something called Frag Counter Camos for Conqueror. Napoli Kleber. These are they're actually pretty cool camos for some legendary tier ships. I think they cost 5,000 gold doubloons. And basically, it's kind of a cool looking camo. And on the nose of your ship, it'll say how many kills you got. If you've been grinding the ship over and over and over again, this could be thousands. Or if you play all the ships sporadically and you try and avoid legendary tier, it might be in the teens, whatever. But it will go up after each game, depending on the ship. So that's the substantive additions to the game thus far. But now we got a few balance changes. We're going to go over these briefly. Epic modification tweaks. All right, now Epic mods I don't believe are coming back to be fully available yet. I think they're still in the test phase, but they introduced these 2-3 months ago to be able to unlock them. They're basically superchargers for one ship in your Navy per mod, and there's 5 of them. Secondary reload booster, range booster, things of this nature, torpedo reload booster, blah, blah, blah. All right, you can put them on. You need a slot 4 ship, or a ship that can take slot 4 mods, rather. So that's usually tier 7 and above, but not exclusively. and they boost your abilities based on performance. Now, usually they had been, or traditionally they had been based on number of hits, shell hits, torpedo hits, things of that nature, secondary hits. Now they've gone to be honest with you, and I agree with their assessment. Though that scheme favored certain ships, like my reload booster. I want to put it on the Minotaur, fast firing, so I'm going to get the 250 hits relatively quickly. Then I'm going to boost this thing rapidly. Same thing with secondary reload mod, for instance. What's pumping out the secondary hits quickest? Okay, rubric. Well, let's put it on the rubric. All right, so it kind of, they're good mods, but they only favored certain ships. All right, now they're going strictly to damage, getting the player base to focus more on just accumulating damage rather than winning the game. I don't know if that's wise or not, but do we, have we thought through any of this stuff lately? Who knows? But that's a change. I think it's probably a good change overall, but again, it'd be dope if it was like capture 3 bases and all of a sudden you get your thing maxed out, or capture a base, get a few base resets. Wow, that'd be dope. Ship overview traits refresh. Now I don't even know what this are or what these are until I had to think about it for a moment. I think if you scroll on your ship all the way to the right on the tabs at the top, they'll be like, here's the breakdown of the ship. Yamato was a big battleship that sailed around on planet Earth for a while. Yada yada yada. It did this. It did that. And then at the bottom, it'll be like, wow, this is what it does really well. But a lot of you guys are always remarking these things that the game recommends it doing well. Very bizarre. All right, so they're actually, I think they got someone who actually played the game to review these, and it seems like they're going to fine tune them. So it says, for example, Yamato is listing as having superior HE damage. Can you imagine firing HE in the Yamato? My God. But yeah, and keep in mind the information available for players that don't come off of the game to learn about it is limited at best. And here's more examples of like bizarre information being presented. So this seems, if executed well, it seems like a great improvement potentially, right? Anything we can do to boost the information available to people who are relying on the information in the game, give them more accurate information. That seems like a good thing to me. So, we're going to say Yamato's superior HE damage trait has been replaced with superior AP pen. My God, that makes way more sense. You have the best AP ship in the game, at least in terms of penetration, and we're hyping up the HE. My God, every time you see Yamato shooting HE, you breathe a sigh of relief unless he's on your team. All right. It says the refresh doesn't change performance of any ships. It just accurately describes what they're capable of. Ship balance changes, they are what they are. I'm not going to go too deep into them. But Flander got a buff. Champagne's endured 2 or 3 buffs recently. When it launched, probably, in my opinion, one of the worst ships, certainly bottom 5. Haven't really given it too much of a chance since it, but I think this is the 2nd or 3rd buff. Now we're getting more range. We're in range on this the accuracy range is actually pretty good on this thing. You get rudder shift. You got main battery reload booster. So Champagne, they want us to try it again. We'll try it again. Gascon getting off. Chuck Hughes. Anyone know what a Chuck Hughes is? I think it's a tier 6 American destroyer. I got one. I know I've played it about 8 times last time I checked the stats. That's getting a buff. ZF6, German AP specialist destroyer. That's getting a health boost. Toronto, Montecachole, Trento, buffs. All right, so those are the buffs. Those are the changes. That's what's coming. What do you guys think? I always make these videos, and I like to point it out every time. Number 1, to give you guys the lowdown. Want to keep you informed. But number 2, I love to get the comments from you guys because I can see, okay, here's what people are focused on. Here's what's generating a little bit of buzz. That's what I'm going to tackle first. So I want to get your feedback on what you're excited about, what you're thumbing your nose at. Just give me your thoughts. That helps me plan out the next week or 2 worth of content, and it's appreciated. So that's going to do it for that one, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time for you. Questions, comments, leave below. Love to hear from you, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.